What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's just a continuation on my series Minecraft but at 2 a.m. It's more so like a voiceover, and if you guys are more into that type of content, definitely let me know. But if you guys wanted a recap of the first video, essentially all it was me telling my point of view of a relationship that lasted about 8 months, which ended pretty suddenly. This was kind of my first ever real relationship, which is kind of crazy to think about because especially looking back on it now, I see how one-track minded I really was and how driven I was by this, one thing that could potentially get stripped away almost overnight, which is kind of exactly what happened. But I mean, it got so bad to the point where I almost cut off my day ones because they were low-key annoying me. They were kind of bugging me about it because obviously when you like someone, you obviously make time for them, as I said in the first video. Please go check that out. It gives a lot of context on what I'm speaking about now. But I was so invested in this one relationship that I never accounted for losing it. This can be compared to putting all of your money in a singular stock just to have it crash. And I like how Adam Barton really states this. In one of his messages, thanks to Adam Barton, great speaker by the way, he tells us to not put all of our eggs in one basket.
But the idea behind this cliche is that if you have all your eggs in one basket and you drop the basket, you lose all your eggs.
And so with this idea, we can already make the assumption that we're supposed to spread our wealth. So like he mentions, if you drop the basket, not all of your eggs break. And I find this very similar in the way we make relationships. If you put all your time and effort into one soul, and that soul ends up leaving down the road, what other connection do you really have? This is definitely something that God brought to my attention after this relationship. Not only that, but I was just not making time for God at all. Oftentimes I'd be in church and just be super bored, or my thoughts were constantly taken up by this one person. And it was at this point that our relationship kind of took an unhealthy turn. More so for me, since I started to really make more time for her and make less time for my friends. Again, investing in that one stock that's unpredictable. But at that time, I was so blinded by this unbiblical love, I just hadn't seen how problematic it would be for me in the future. And I found myself drifting further and further away from God. And it got to a point that if I were to look back on my life, I would definitely question if I was a Christian or not. And I guess like Noah and the flood, Sodom and Gomorrah, basically every Israelite during the perpetual cycle of all the judges, I sinned against God and he had to wake me up. And so what I thought I loved most and put all of my effort and time into was so effortlessly taken away from me. I'd have to say this is probably one of the lowest lows in my life. Now I know I'm pretty young still, but having an 8-month relationship and pouring all your time every day for 8 months straight just for all your effort to be put to waste. However, I find out now that all of that effort that I once put into a relationship was actually, turned into wisdom, because without that, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. And that's just another prime example of God's goodness and how what Satan really meant for evil, God could turn around and use it for his glory. And we see this idea throughout the Bible reinstated by many stories. And the one story that comes to mind is Joseph. The Joseph who was sold into slavery. He was thrown in prison for being falsely accused of sleeping with his master's wife, to becoming second in command of all of Egypt. Now you cannot sit here and tell me that was not the hand of God. Now there's many Bible verses reinstating this sort of idea, but the ones I found and the ones I'm going to include start with Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The second one being Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And the third one being Job 42:2. I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. The main point that I really want to drive home today, at the end of the day, people let you down, but God never will. So as long as you make time for God, you'll be rooted in him. And troubles and hardships like this won't sting as much. And that's not to say you won't get hardships as a Christian. That's just saying they won't hit you as hard, because you know that God has a plan for you. And throughout that 8 months, I look at it now and realize that I was trying to pave my own way. I was trying to create my own happiness, completely forgetting that happiness stems from God. Like in Proverbs 16:20. Whoever gives thought to the world will discover good, and blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. Now at first glance, this looks like pretty much every other motivational Bible verse, but when you really dig at the root meaning of blessed, it really illuminates what this passage is supposed to mean. But what is the definition of blessed? The term blessedness refers to a spiritual state of well-being and prosperity, a deep, joy-filled contentment that cannot be shaken by poverty, grief, famine, persecution, war, or any other trial or tragedy we may face in life. And just reading that, we can look at my situation with my relationship and already see that I had not one bit of trust in the Lord. And well, in turn, I wasn't blessed because of it, and because I relied on my own understanding and my own will rather than trusting God's will and what He had in store for me, things were so easily stripped away. But anyways, that's a little bit about me and a little bit about my story on how I started learning how to trust God. I hope this video was really helpful and deepened your faith. And if you guys did like the video and did stick around till the end, make sure you hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps my channel a ton. And if you do like this type of voiceover content, make sure you let me know down in the comments below. Peace.